One more game I want to talk about from a highlight standpoint here. So another ATS YouTube video for us to check out. Western Kentucky and Louisville. And I think a lot of people are very excited about Louisiana and Iowa State. I know it's a game that you talked about on your Twitter page at Brad Powers and the number 7. This is the game to me that I think is really, really interesting because Western Kentucky has been a pretty consistent, for the most part, team there in Conference USA, at least, once they figured things out last year with first-year head coach Tyson Helton. And Louisville last year dramatically exceeded expectations in year one with Scott Satterfield, who I just think is a damn good coach. And I don't know if I would say he's top 5. He's certainly top 10 for me nationally as far as head coaches go. This is an interesting one. You've got the spread here, 11.5, total going up a little bit from 56 to 58. Again, I know a lot of people excited about Louisiana, Iowa State, but I think this is the game that I'm kind of watching the closest here in week 2.
Yeah, and I could certainly see that. Both teams kind of similar. Both second-year coaches. Both last year, I thought, certainly overachieved from an expectations standpoint, but far and away, both at Louisville and Western Kentucky. When you look at returning production, you got to love the skill position talent there for Louisville. This is a team that returns Cunningham at quarterback, very dynamic. Get that guy in your head. Cunningham, the quarterback for Louisville, highly productive passer, also a dual threat. And you look at Atwell, wide receiver for them, Hawkins at running back. I mean, probably the best group of skill position players that nationally people aren't aware of. You need to know those guys for Louisville. Less returning production as far as the skill position goes for Western Kentucky. Lost their quarterback, lost their top wide receiver, Lucky Jackson. They do bring in, and this is intriguing, at least as far as I'm concerned, a Maryland transfer, Pegram at quarterback for them, a guy that's known more of a runner than passer. And if you look at Louisville's defense last year, they struggled defending mobile quarterbacks. Specifically, if you look at that Kentucky game at the end of the regular season, Louisville's defense didn't have a clue how to defend it. So, I would lean Louisville here just because my power ratings call for it. I think it's more in the 12 range for me. And I just go back to last year's matchup on a neutral field. Louisville was clearly the better team, won by 17, and the box score reflected it. But I kind of like the over. I like the skill position talent for Louisville, and I think Louisville's defense might struggle to defend Western Kentucky's offense. A little bit of over for me in this one.
Yeah, and again, you've got Western Kentucky with some of that turnover. We've talked about that. It's kind of been a running theme here throughout the show so far of returning production, continuity, and the increased importance of that here with the fact that we didn't really get spring practices. Fall camps have been a little bit limited to a degree. As you mentioned earlier on in the show, Navy wasn't even hitting each other. We saw that kind of come to the forefront, getting blown out by BYU. It's just been such a different lead up to the season here where maybe Louisville's continuity is sort of that determining factor, along with the fact that, look, they're an ACC team. They recruit at a much higher level, stuff like that. But, again, I want to see how Western Kentucky looks here in this game. I think maybe Louisville would be the lean for me. I agree with your thoughts on the over, and that would be a consensus play here from us. Looking at that over, which is now, again, in that 58 range. But these are always such interesting games, and one other angle to consider here, and I wrote about this over at ats.io in my situational betting tips piece, these little brother versus big brother games always intrigue me. You know you're going to get little brother's best shot. This one maybe not as obvious as some of the others like directional Michigan schools against Michigan or something like that. But still, this is a game about bragging rights for Western Kentucky because those homegrown players probably weren't recruited by Louisville. So those little brother, big brother games always intrigue me too.
They certainly do. And one more factor, just if you want to keep track of it, spring practice is Louisville 7-0 in that regard. So another reason for me leaning with the Cardinals here.
Well, like I said, we've got these highlight game clips, these highlight topic clips on our ATS YouTube page, and make sure that you check out the full broadcast here of ATS.io radio.